In 1968, at the Olympics in Mexico City, this happened. Tommy Smith, the first place winner in the men's 200-meter race, along with third place winner John Carlos, raised their fists in what had recently become the symbol of the Black Power movement. And the President of the United States, Lyndon Johnson, said nothing. That came after Muhammad Ali's 1966 defiance of the draft, which got him convicted of a federal crime, and the President of the United States, Lyndon Johnson, said nothing. And in 1971, when Muhammad Ali won his case on appeal and his conviction was overturned, the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, said nothing. In 1972, after his Major League playing days were over, Major League Baseball's first black player, Jackie Robinson, said in his autobiography, "I cannot stand and sing the anthem. I cannot salute the flag. I know that I am a black man in a white world." Bill Moyers is a Peabody Award-winning journalist. He served as the White House press secretary in the Johnson administration from 1965 to 1967, and we have the honor of Bill Moyers joining us now.
Good to be with you.
Bill, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And so take us back to this. You were in the White House when Muhammad Ali defied the draft. The Vietnam was obviously the biggest issue in the country at the time in terms of the tensions of the country, which was just almost coming out of, but not quite coming out of, the tensions of the civil rights movement, which was still very active.
He was, let's say, protocol conscious in terms of attacking dissenters publicly or people who disagreed with him. Privately, he often said very harsh things about them, particularly as the war in Vietnam escalated and as it then became a quagmire. He thought there were communists on the left. He said privately, I don't know if he really thought it, but he would say privately on many telephone tapes that, well, there are communists out there stirring up trouble. They don't want us to win in Vietnam. So he would say that, but rarely, only rarely did his public hostility become public. Last night on Ken Burns and Lynn Novick's fifth episode, or sixth episode of the Vietnam series, he's quoted on the tape as being very harsh about protesters outside the White House and draft dodgers. And that was one of the rare times that he said it in a way that more than a few people in the room could hear it.
And this is a president who had two sons-in-law, serving in Vietnam.
I think their presence there is what finally triggered his deep resignation to the fact that he had to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, so that actual part of his move, which was really executed in 1968, where he really started moving, Johnson started moving toward trying to get peace talks, was a matter of what he was hearing from his sons-in-law?
Well, I don't know if it was what he was hearing, but it was I wasn't there, by the way, in 68. I left in 65. But he and Lucy, his youngest daughter, after the boys went to Vietnam, they would go to midnight mass in the local Catholic church. He was a Catholic, and they would feel and sense the danger. When that danger is brought that close, I mean, it always affects any president to lose young men in war. But when it's your own, as it was with Teddy Roosevelt and one of the Franklin Roosevelt's boys, the war is suddenly made very personal.
And we have no record of anyone in the Trump family ever serving in one of our wars. And this is a president who talks about that these soldiers have given their lives for the flag. These soldiers, it's for our fallen soldiers that we are standing and behaving as we do during the national anthem.
Well, some presidents feel more deeply than others do, and some presidents build a kind of guard between them and the consequences of their decisions. Johnson tried that, but he could not do it. He did not like war. He did not like going to war, but after he went to war, he pursued it with a passion, but he never was unconscious of the fact that people were suffering. I don't say that out of loyalty to him. I just saw him. I just knew it was wearing on his spirit that he was doing what he didn't want to do, but did it anyway, fighting this war and fighting it with young men whom he drafted. We had drafted about 2.2, maybe 2.5 million young men during that period, and only 25% of them wound up in combat. But he was aware that, as he said, when he escalated the war in July of 1965, he kind of spoke to mothers about the need for their sacrifice. It was that kind of rationalization that tore at him.
Mm-hmm. And when you see this president who managed to get himself a doctor's note to keep himself out of the draft, talking about lecturing, as he was this weekend, about what the national anthem is supposed to mean to everyone else, and doing so, as you say, without any concern that President Johnson and his predecessors had about measuring their words.
Well, this is an alien in the White House. We've never had this kind of president. We've had bad presidents, and we've had vulgar men in the president, but we've never had someone who suffers from the kind of malignant narcissism. All politicians are narcissistic, but some of the malignancy of the politicians, the presidents, do not spread down into the country and the culture. This one is happening very fast. There's almost a campaign to chill free speech. There is to use it to divide and polarize the country. He's turned the Oval Office, I'm sorry to say, into a mosh pit of bodily and verbally rhetorical conflict. He is a very angry man. And all the weekend, he was angry in Alabama at Hillary Clinton again. He was angry at the football players. He was angry at North Korea, and his anger is getting the best of him.
And just quickly before we go, Lyndon Johnson or any previous president, I imagine their reaction to hearing this president of the United States just call this dangerous dictator in North Korea Rocket Man.
That's far more dangerous than what's happening with the NFL. I mean, he's brought the NFL to its knees, effectively, in reverence toward the ideals he's betrayed. But the issue with Korea is the deadliest issue we've faced in a long time.
Bill Moyers, thank you very much for joining us again. It's a real honor to have you. Thank you, Bill.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.